Has anyone noticed that pure comedy movies like the ones we used to see in the 2000s and early 2010s basically don't exist anymore? Apparently, yes, basically every other YouTuber on the platform has noticed this, and I'm super late to the party, but I'm gonna share my thoughts anyway. Movies like Mean Girls, Superbad, and Bridesmaids were infinitely quotable and had a strong hold on the culture of that time. To this day, these movies play an integral role in defining the energy of that time period, at least for me. But over the past 10 years, movies like that have almost completely died out, and I believe the main culprit for that is the action genre, with the MCU at the head of it. That's right, all roads lead back to Kevin eventually. You thought I wouldn't mention this guy in a video about the state of Hollywood? Come on, please. But what do I mean by that? I'm not saying that the people behind all your favorite action movies have purposefully destroyed comedy as a part of some evil conspiracy to make me cry. I'm talking about the collective push from the studios and the big production companies to move away from pure comedies, leaving comedy as a sort of afterthought element within other genres, especially action. It feels like over the past decade, we've seen action films basically co-opting comedy and cannibalizing it until it becomes more of a crutch for action movies than a standalone genre. And as a result, what we've been seeing for a while now are all these quippy action comedies, with the MCU movies being the most notable example. Now, I'm not trying to be a hater. Some of these movies are good, some of these movies are funny, even very funny, but they don't focus on the comedy. That's not their selling point. They use it more as a supporting tool to fill in the gaps and make everything a bit more entertaining when the plot and action can't cut it. So as I said before, no matter how funny or good these movies are, they just aren't pure comedies in the same way that all those iconic movies from 20 years ago are. And this issue is very widespread. I was looking through the list of 2020's comedies on Letterboxd a couple days ago, and probably less than 10% of them were movies that I would actually call pure comedies. I literally have the top 20 comedies of the 2020s pulled up on my phone right now, and I'm looking at them, and maybe 2 of these I would call pure comedies. Barbie and Bottoms. Other than that, there's quite a few action comedies. We have a few Marvel movies, we have Bullet Train, we have even some more sort of high-class ones like Mickey 17 and Everything Everywhere All at Once. We have Saltburn, we got Poor Things. Really not a lot of actual comedy. And again, when I'm referring to actual comedy or pure comedy, I'm referring to just a movie that the main selling point of it is the comedy. You go to see it so that you can laugh, as opposed to like a movie like Bullet Train, for example, which is trying to be a cool action movie that can also try to make you laugh. But that's not really the main reason that you would go to see it. And this trend has been going on for quite a while now. If I had to pick one movie that I would say sort of ushered in this paradigm shift, I would say it was Guardians of the Galaxy. Obviously, you can argue it happened a few years earlier or later or whatever, but to me, this movie is the first one that really has that feeling of that modern, quippy action comedy that we've been seeing for the past decade. And again, I like this film. I grew up with it. Star-Lord, very cool. I like the fucking Bradley Cooper raccoon and the Vin Diesel tree and all those motherfuckers. But I just don't think that a movie in this vein could ever truly have a cultural impact comedically on the same level as a pure comedy. And I think one of the main reasons for that is that these movies aren't built for comedy. They're built for action, or whatever other genre they're pairing the comedy with, whether it be sci-fi or mystery or horror. And what I mean by that is that there's nothing inherently comedic about their concepts. For example, with Guardians of the Galaxy, there's nothing funny about the core idea of them being a team of heroes in space who end up fighting some other space guy with a hammer. That's purely action and sci-fi stuff. And the issue with that is that the movie doesn't feel like a comedy in any meaningful way. It just ends up being an action movie where the characters happen to make a lot of jokes and quips. When you think back to the best pure comedies, you can immediately recall these iconic moments that are just stuck in the collective consciousness of society. McLovin, On Wednesdays We Wear Pink, fucking My Name Jeff. You can think back to hilarious, iconic characters that are inherently funny. The worlds of the films are funny. The comedy is there on a conceptual level, which makes the movie feel funny even when no one's quipping or joking around. Which is why the modern style of comedy struggles to achieve those same results, because they're just not interested in making movies comedic beyond a surface level. It's not like there's no funny people left in Hollywood or something, it's just that the priorities of the industry have shifted. At this point, even movies that can be considered pure comedies struggle to make the same sort of cultural impact comedically, because studios aren't willing to market them in a way that would allow them to do that. I think Barbie is a great example of this, because it was obviously a very impactful movie, could not be more in the zeitgeist, while also being one of the only recent films that could be considered a pure comedy in a similar vein to all that stuff from 15 years ago. But even with a movie so massive and popular, it feels like people didn't really talk about the comedy aspect of it, which is a real shame because Barbie is very funny. But if you look at the marketing materials for the movie or discussions around it online, it feels like the comedy is almost circumvented entirely. It seems like Hollywood has completely lost faith in comedy as a viable selling point for a film. And the only way to change this, in my opinion, is to just start making and watching real comedies again. Hollywood needs to realize that comedy can stand on its own. It doesn't need to come as a supporting act to something else. And we know that because people have loved comedy since the movies became a thing, and they didn't need to be watered down for people to enjoy them. There was a time when you could pitch the dumbest bullshit without even a real semblance of a plot, and if it seemed funny enough, someone might make it. A big chunk of comedies from that era are essentially just a collection of nonsensical bits strung together. And people loved it because it was genuinely funny. The comedy didn't need to be toned down and tacked onto a more serious genre to be successful and beloved. And I'm not saying we need to go back to spending $30 million on shit like Coneheads, but I think Hollywood needs to have more faith in goofy ideas and letting funny people just do what they do, without diluting it with other genres. And yeah, those were my thoughts on the state of comedy today. Pretty grim, but probably in a decade or so, pure comedy will be back in full swing, and I'll be on here whining like, oh, where's all the action comedies and dramedies like we had in the good old 2020s? Or maybe I won't be. I don't know. Anyway, thank you guys very much for watching this video. This is a bit of a different style of video to the ones I usually make. My normal kind of content is video essays about cartoons, even though I'm planning to expand to a bunch of other topics, so stay tuned for that. But this video I decided to go with more of a rant style, so let me know what you thought of that format. But if you enjoyed this video, or if you hated it and you want me to eat farts, leave a comment, tell me about it, and don't forget to leave a like and hit that subscribe button. See ya!